Hey you guys, so today, well actually the other day, I was reminiscing about how I used to do my makeup in high school. So I thought it would be a fun time for me to do one side of my face how I used to do my makeup, technique wise and everything, and the other side how I do my makeup now. And then we can all give me a pat on the back because things have really changed. Really quickly, I just want to ask you guys a favor. I have my mic sitting on top of my camera rather than on my very small limited desk space. Let me know if you can hear the autofocus noise and if it's really annoying and distracting, in which case I will move my mic back to my desk. Or if it sounds fine and you're like, this is great, then it works for both of us, okay? You just let me know what you think of the audio. All right, let's start with eyes. I'm gonna put a little bit of eye primer on both of my eyeballs. All right, and I'm gonna set this eyeball because I always used to set my eye primer without fail back in the day. Lately, I've been trying to switch it up. I've been trying some new techniques out, taking them for a little spin around the block, you know? Oh, I guess I could zoom you guys in too. That'd probably be helpful. Oh, I look like Britney Spears in whatever the music video is where she's wearing like that red bodysuit thing and she has like super white eyeshadow on. Anyway, back in high school, I had 5 brushes. I had an angle brush. I had a little precision eyeliner brush like this. I had a brush that kind of looked like this, but it was less pointed. It was more like rounded at the top. And then I had like a foundation brush that looked like one of those paint brushes kind of thing, which I don't like have any brush like that anymore. And I had a duo fiber brush, and that was what I did like all of my makeup with. So I'm just gonna be using these 4 brushes for this side of my face, and we'll just see how that goes. So believe it or not, once upon a time, all I wore on my eyes was color. Not all I wore, but like I wore a lot of colored eyeshadow. Like I would wear like yellow and pink eyeshadow to school, and I would wear like yellow and green and navy and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna do the yellow, green, and navy look here today for you. I always used to start with my lid color. I don't know why. It was just what made perfect sense to me. I think it was because I didn't like understand the concept yet of transition colors. Like obviously I knew about blending and stuff, but like having like a transition color like going down into the crease was just not a priority to me. So I always started with my lid color first. And it's so funny too because like looking back, I would use like a shimmery color and I would put down the shimmer first and then put down mattes, and I'd be blending the mattes and the shimmers would just be, what a mess. Okay, I'm gonna take a like lime green eyeshadow and I'm gonna kind of start blending that onto my eyebrow. Oh, that is not the color I wanted it to be. I remember the exact lime green that I actually used to use in high school, and it had like a shimmer to it, but we're just making do with what we have today. Oh yeah, that's what I was looking for. Man, I just love the color. I thought it looked so good. I thought I looked so good. I just felt like if you had the option to do colored makeup, why would you do neutral makeup? You know what I mean? And here we are. Okay, I'm gonna take a navy shadow and do my little outside part. I explicitly remember that I used to use a navy pigment for this, and I'm like, who raised you? Like, in what world did I have the time to use a fucking pigment? Not like a nice like sheer like translucent kind of like cool pigment like that, like a navy pigment, which is so much more of a pain in the ass than using a pressed shadow. But it was one of those things that like I felt like I just wanted to like master it and like be good at applying a pigment, because it made me feel like more of an artist basically, and that's why I used it, man. Like I just thought it was like the coolest, and I would literally never do that now. I don't know if I even could. I don't know if I could even do that the way that I did in high school. Like, I mean, you guys might think differently after we're done this, but I actually feel like I was a pretty bomb makeup artist at that time. I'm gonna grab that on my finger. Oh my God, look at what's happening here. It's almost like this is like repelling the green away. Okay, and then basically what I would do, once I had my colors down like this, I would just like, I'd be using my brush like this, right? I'd turn my brush sideways and I just would blend like this. Oh, this is gonna be a Long road, folks. I feel like this is making my eyeshadow look a lot worse than it did at the time. I don't know, maybe my eyeshadow looked pretty bad at the time and I'm just like not remembering correctly. I'm trying to use like the lightest like feather touch ever because this is so hard to blend out with this brush, but just also like just everything about this is tricky. Okay, I wasn't making easy work for myself, let's just put it that way. But brushes were freaking expensive. I couldn't afford to like go get a new brush every time I needed one. I'm gonna take a little bit more of that green and see if I can kind of layer it over top of there. Okay, I don't think that looks any better, but oh wow, this looks so bad. I'm gonna wipe this brush off on the back of my hand and try and get as much of the product out of it as I possibly can so that I can hopefully like blend with like less product on my brush. Oh shit, just remembering now. I used to exclusively use shimmery brow bone highlight. I remember why. I wasn't like a big like YouTube fanatic, but I did watch this channel. It was Fafinet X3. Love that bitch. And I remember in one video, she was like, highlight can make or break a look. And I was like, that's so true. And then I started wearing shimmery highlight. So I'm going to put on a kind of shimmery highlight and I'm going to try to blend that into this disaster. Oh, that's not as shimmery as I would have wanted back in the day. Wow, the way that these eyeshadows are like interacting with each other is just really, it's unique. I grabbed a different navy to see if I can layer this up a little better. My pigment would have never done this to me. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh baby. Ooh, maybe I'll take a little bit of this shimmer because that pigment did have a little bit of shimmer in it. I've arrived. I feel like, was I good at blending? I'm trying to think about it for a second. I mean, I was using like a singular brush, so maybe not the best, but like I feel like I'm trying to think of like how like I would have left this. Like would I have left it that unblended or would I have blended it out more? I'm gonna blend it out a touch more if I can. Actually, you know what? This is looking pretty similar to what I would do in high school. I'm feeling pretty confident about this. No, please don't. Not confident as in it looks good, but confident as what I think it would have looked like back in the day. I did have an angle brush, but I refused to use it for eyeliner. That just made no sense in my mind. I was like, why would I use an angle brush when I could use the smallest brush available to do the most massive wing? So that's what we're doing today. Oh wow, this is really bringing me back right now. It was fucking hard, man. I wish I could, I want to grab a blending brush so badly, but that worked okay. It worked okay when I grabbed that second navy. That first navy was bullshit. Also, oh my god, I remember, I'm gonna start doing my winged eyeliner with this petite brush. But I remember that I used to like rim my eyes with black eyeliner, obviously, of course, who didn't? And I just remember being so frustrated because it would come off my waterline all the time. And then I went into MAC one day. This is the worst. I want to use an angle brush so bad. I remember that I went into MAC the one day and I asked the lady there, I was like, hey, like, I want like an eyeliner that's gonna stay on my waterline. And she was like, oh, you can use like Black Track, which is their like gel eyeliner. And I was like, this bitch is crazy as hell. I was looking at that product and I was like, this in my, like, I don't know why, it just seemed so foreign to me to put a gel eyeliner like that close to my eye. I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And then that's actually when I got this like little tiny angle brush or like precision brush as well. And I put it in my waterline while I was still at the mall in like the bathroom and I was like, dang, that looks good. And then I wore it to school the next day and it fucking lasted me all day and my mind was blown. I was shook, as one would say. And I felt like that woman changed the very course of my life. I remember the lady that introduced me to Warm Soul as well. I remember exactly what she looked like. And I just remember her like saying that it was so nice because it had a little bit of orange to it. And I was like, orange and a blush. And like, it just like all of these concepts were so new to me. Like I was like, I could use orange in a blush. Like I had only ever used like super pink blushes before. I was using Spring Sheen. It was such a fun time because like obviously like none of these things were groundbreaking, but to me they were because like I was just learning about makeup. And so when someone was saying like, Oh yeah, and then this one chick was like, oh, you could use like a little bit of like this lipstick as like a cream blush. I was like, witchcraft. Okay, this is so not enjoyable to do. I'm trying to make this as smooth as I can possibly make it because I know that I didn't go over with a liquid eyeliner after. I was like, why would you ever need to use a liquid eyeliner? That was a fucking time-consuming task. I truly don't know how I had the time. Okay, so that's basically what I would do for the top half. I'm gonna do my makeup and then do the bottom half of my eyes. Let's jump over to what I do now, which you guys already know what I do now, but just for shits. I'm gonna be using my Natasha Denona Biba palette. Update on this palette, I have been using the like cream to powder ones that I was saying were a little bit finicky and I was having kind of a hard time with. And liking them over top of a different primer. That whatever primer I was talking about before, P. Louise, it's just bullshit, man. It does not fucking do it for me. Okay, I'm gonna start with the color Tusk, which is just a good old transition color. So lately I have been just basically trying out not setting my eye primer for the past couple months, just trying to get the hang of it and see like which technique I prefer for which looks and all that kind of different stuff. And I always start my looks now with a transition shade. So I usually like to start with my matte colors. So I would always take my nice matte into my crease so that I'm laying down that transition color, and it makes it a lot easier to blend out afterwards, because if you can kind of see over here, it was really tricky to lay down that lid color and then I would have to keep going back over it, which is time consuming, because when I would go to blend this out, it would kind of like knock that shadow off a little bit, or it would just get covered or muddy or whatever. But also you can kind of see that this is a little bit more of a harsh transition because there's no color in between there. So when we're looking at how light this color is and how much darker this color is, it's kind of nice to have a mid-tone in between there so that you're blending into something rather than blending into essentially nothing. So I'm gonna take the color Freckle from the Biba palette, which is kind of just like a warm, medium toned brown. And I'm gonna bring that into my outer corner, and I'm gonna blend what's left on my brush into that crease just a little bit. Oh yeah, also I remember now I keep a lot of my eyeshadows focused like almost entirely to the outer corner kind of thing. I rarely bring that dark color all the way across unless I'm doing like some kind of halo eye or something. But anytime I was doing a makeup back in high school, I would bring the dark color from here all the way into the inner corner kind of thing. And I stopped doing that because I just feel like basically it's not as flattering. I feel like it makes my kind of bone structure there look a lot like heavier, and I just don't think it looks nice. And I also feel like it makes my eyes look a lot more round, whereas like I prefer to make them look more kind of like elongated. I will do a matte eye a lot of the time, just kind of like all matte across the lid and stuff like that, but I do love me like a little shimmery kind of lid. So I'm gonna use this from Touch in Soul. It's Honey Brown. It's one of their Metalist Sparkling Foiled Pigments. I haven't used this exact product before. I do use things like really similar to this all the time. So I'm gonna take that on my finger first and just bring that across my lid. Oh dang, that's so pretty. Oh boy, lots of fallout, lots of fallout. Okay, I am gonna take a little bit of a darker color. I'm gonna take Cocoa, kind of just mixed with Freckle. Cocoa's a little bit of a darker brown. And I'm just going to tap that over that outer corner just a tiny bit, and then I can grab my bigger blending brush. One thing I will say that has stayed kind of the same is not using a ton of different shadows on the eye. I usually use like 3 to 4 shadows, and I was the same way in high school. I was that way in high school because I couldn't afford to buy more eyeshadows, so I was kind of limited to what I had. But now I just feel like I see so many videos of people using like 7, 8, 9, 10 friggin' shadows on their eye. And I just feel like it's so unrealistic because most people don't have those kinds of collections, but also because you don't need to do that. The thing with eyeshadow is that you're working with such limited space, and it can be really cool to add a bunch of colors in if you're going for like a very like different look. But when I'm seeing someone do like a neutral look and they're just using like 6 or 7 or 8 shadows for something that's so simple and so easy, it doesn't make any sense to me, because it's like that's whatever colors you're adding are the colors that are going to be created from blending these very similar colors together anyways. So there's no need to go in with all of these different shades, in my opinion. So that's something that hasn't really changed. It's not like as my makeup collection got bigger and I had the option, I started using way more shadows for my eye. I still try to keep it to what's the most efficient, how can I get this done the quickest and still have the same result as using way more products kind of thing. Anyway, so that's kind of where I leave the shadow. I used to only do winged eyeliner, like my look wasn't complete without it, and I felt like it looked so odd and like so naked and shitty unless my winged eyeliner was on. But as of late, like within the past few years, I've really kind of like stopped doing winged eyeliner. I will still do it like here and there, but it's so much more rare. I guess just because I feel like I ain't got time for that. And now I'll usually, instead of doing a winged eyeliner, I will do like a dark shadow, kind of just like powder across the lash line, just to kind of make my lashes look more thick, and also to help cover like any lash band if I'm wearing lashes. So I'm gonna take a dark shadow here. I'm using Seed from the Natasha Denona palette, and I'm just going to press that on. This is the angle brush from high school. Oh, those things look like they kind of suck, eh? They're not like it's already creasing. Looks kind of poopy. Maybe I'll just grab another kind of shadow and press that over top and hope that it keeps its form a little bit better than that one is. You know what also has stayed the same? I've never been a makeup removal kind of person. It's so interesting because when I went to makeup school, which was like right after I graduated high school, so many people would get like frustrated with their look and take off the whole thing, and I was always like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Like I just never did that. I guess that was never my like thought process. I would always rather try and fix what I have than take it off and start again. The only time I like take my makeup off and start again is if I like absolutely have to. Like there's literally no option but to do that kind of thing. So my lashes in high school were always very dramatic, always very, very, very long. I just wanted the most dramatic thing you could possibly find, which I don't even really have lashes like that anymore, but these are the lashes that are like the closest. Oh shit, I didn't even put mascara on. Oh right, but I wouldn't put mascara on back in the day. I did put mascara on, but I put it on after. I can't stop saying back in the day, by the way. I used to not apply mascara first. I would apply it afterwards so I could blend the mascara into my natural lashes. And I still see like the merit in that basically. But I do feel like because I'm wearing more natural lashes, oh God, I just put that fully into my eyeball. Because I'm wearing more natural lashes, I do prefer to do my mascara first so that I'm not building up a ton of mascara onto my fake lashes, but also because I feel like I can make my natural lashes look a little bit better before I go to put my mascara on. Okay, so I'm gonna take my mascara and put it over my fake eyelashes. Okay, so for this side, I am actually remembering that I think towards the very, very end of high school, like right before I was about to graduate, I did get this brush. This is the exact brush, and I would apply my concealer with that and then usually blend out with my finger. But before I had this brush, I would just apply it with my finger. But just for shits, because I don't have my other paintbrush, so I'm still sticking to 5 brushes, I'm gonna use this one. So I'm gonna use my Glossier Stretch Concealer because I would exclusively use potted cream concealers. And I would just friggin' put that on. And then I'm gonna use my finger to blend out. I never did spot concealing because I had clear, beautiful, acne-free skin, and it was the time of my life, and I didn't realize it at the time, but here we are. I'm trying to think of what foundation I used in high school. Oh, I really can't remember. I do know for a fact, though, that there would be no shearing out to be had. I just was not about that life. I wanted the full coverage situation, so that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna take my dual fiber brush, so this is a Sigma F80 brush, because that's what I would use back in high school. Not Sigma specifically, but I used a dual fiber brush, and I would kind of just like put it on in downward strokes, and then I would buff it in circular motions. Foundation was something that, well, base makeup in general actually was something that like was probably the last on my list of things to like learn about, because between that and brows, because I just didn't care, man. Like I didn't really care like what my skin looked like, which is so funny because that's like my main focus now. Eyes were basically all I gave a shit about. I don't know how to tell you this. I actually did powder my entire face back in high school. So I'm gonna use a loose powder, and I would use the same brush. So I would put it on my brush like that, and then I would just, I don't even know how I would do it really. This seems like so counterintuitive. I don't think that I powdered my face like religiously, because I do remember that like when I would run out of my powder, it wouldn't be like something I would rush back to get. So nowadays I have been using my little color corrector lately because I'm old. So the times they are changing, and I can't get away with just a concealer, I feel. So I'm gonna use my little Becca under eye corrector, and I'm just going to stipple that on with my wee finger. So I'm gonna grab my Hello Fab Bendy Avocado Concealer in shade 2. And I'm gonna put that under my eyes. I use a sponge for basically everything now, but it took me a long time to get onto the beauty blender train. Even when I first started YouTube, I still wasn't on the beauty blender bus. And then I spot conceal, so I'm gonna use my Elsie concealer for this. And I'm just gonna use a little pencil brush, and I'm going to dot that over my little spots. I like to spot conceal underneath my foundation as well, just because I feel like there is a little bit of difference in color or like tone or whatever of my concealer. If I put my foundation down first and then go over top with my spot concealer, I feel like you can sometimes see little spots. So now I typically mix my foundation with a few other foundations, as well as I cut it with a moisturizer. I do like to just sheer out my foundation. I always find that it looks more flattering personally, because I just don't love the appearance of a full coverage foundation these days. So I usually cut my foundation like 50-50 with the Vichy 89 Mineral Serum. I also have been trying to use that Tarte Found Sealer and find a way to like enjoy it more. This is how I've found that I like it more. I actually don't mind it when it's mixed in general, but that's typically like not how people are doing it. So I've tried it without mixing it as well, and I still prefer it this way, and I feel like it wears longer. So I dot it kind of all over. And then I take my Smith 115 brush and I just kind of buff that in. Which normally now I would apply my foundation usually with a beauty blender, depending on what kind of foundation I'm using and what kind of look I'm going for. So you guys can kind of see this is definitely a little bit more lighter coverage, and you can kind of see like my little spots poking through. This is also quite a bit more luminous, of course, because I'm not setting my entire face. And then I would always line my entire eye. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just gonna do that. I like to really make sure to not blend it between my lashes so that there's some nice patchiness going on there. All I used for my brows in high school was a pencil. Here's something you need to understand that I'm not going to replicate. I had razor thin eyebrows. I used to pluck my eyebrows like out of stress, and I wouldn't pluck them from the top, I'd pluck them from the bottom. So I had a very, very like high eyebrow that was super like 2 hairs wide, and I also like always had this like kind of puffiness right here because like that's where my brow naturally grows. It was the worst. Anyways, I'm not going to shave my eyebrows, but I used to use a pencil only for my eyebrows, so I'll just go ahead and do that. And I also never brushed through them, and I didn't do anything else to make them look even moderately okay. So now my brow situation. I typically will use some kind of tinted brow gel, whatever that may be. And I will brush that through my brows first. The reason I like to do this first is because I like to be able to see like when those brow hairs are all nice and tinted, where do I really need product? And then I usually fill my eyebrows in with a brow powder. So now I kind of like to apply that powder where I need it, and then I will go through and brush out any excess product. I like to keep them a little bit more natural. I would use, in high school, the brightest pink blush of all time. I did get into Warm Soul and stuff like that towards like the very tail end, but more so like in my 20s I started really using that. I'm going off like a specific picture that I don't have anymore because I don't have Facebook, but it was on Facebook at the time, and I was wearing this eye, and then I had this super pink blush like whipped back, so that's the look we're going for today. Oh wait, first I have to do my lips before I use this brush. So my lips were just concealer, so yeah. Now I'm gonna take this brush and I'm gonna grab the brightest pink blush I could find. I'm not trying to exaggerate, by the way. This is how I wore my blush. I would wear this blush like basically as like intense as I could, and I would not wear bronzer because I thought that was stupid. So that's pretty much how I would do my blush. Very 80s style. But I thought it looked pretty kick-ass. So now, bronzer is like a must. I'm more likely to skip blush and add bronzer than I am to do the other way around, because why would I do this, ever? So I'm gonna use my Fenty Into Sun bronzer, and I like to bring that right under my cheekbones. I still apply bronzer like pretty heavily in comparison to some people, but I definitely don't apply it as heavily as I would have at one point in my life. And then you guys know, I love me a cream highlight. Cream anything really, let's be honest. So I'm gonna take my Koza cream highlight in Tropic Equinox. Then I'm gonna pop that on with my beauty blender. I never wore highlighter in high school because it wasn't really a thing back then. I mean, I'm sure it was, but I probably just hadn't learned about it yet. So definitely the emphasis for me with skin now is something that looks really dewy and a lot more kind of fresh, a lot more sheer. Whereas over here, I just wanted the drama, you know? Typically nowadays for lips, I will do just like some kind of nude lip, or even just like a lip balm with like a little bit of tint. I really kind of opt for sheer lipsticks. It's my thing. So I am gonna apply a little colored lipstick because I'm crazy. That smells so good. And that's kind of what I'm into now. I really love a nice sheer lipstick. I'm beautiful. This was my preferred look back in the day. I'm not gonna lie, I still don't mind the concealer lips, you know what I mean? Yeah, I really loved the whipped back super bright blush. I thought that was a super good look. Didn't really care about anything else with my skin. Brows, envision a really thin, horrible brow. Really the focus for me was always on the eye. I just always wanted to do something super dramatic, super kind of like bright and eye-catching. The more people that pointed out how much makeup I was wearing, the better. A big focus for me back in the day with this side was definitely longevity. I was looking for the most waterproof, the most long wearing, because I was just so insecure that like it was literally crippling for me if my makeup even moderately started to come off. I just like couldn't handle it. I needed to touch it up like right then. So I would carry around my entire makeup bag with me. And like when I say entire, I mean I wanted to be able to make sure that I could redo my full face of makeup top to bottom if I had to for any given reason. Whereas now I travel with lip balm. I usually don't bring makeup with me unless like there's a specific lip color that I'm wearing or something like that. Jumping over to the other side, I'm definitely more into the kind of like sheer dewy skin. Skin is more of like kind of a focus for me. It's something that I spend quite a bit more time on now. Eyes, I always like to keep a little bit more kind of like natural and neutral. Definitely more like toned down, not as dramatic. Bronzer, a must. Don't know what I was thinking before. And for my lips, I always kind of opt for something a little bit more sheer. Every now and again I will wear a matte lipstick, but it's rare. It's rare. So you guys, that is everything for me today. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for watching this video. Definitely let me know what your makeup style was back in the day. All right, you guys, I will see you next time. Peace out.